station.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
It's the only power I have, and I'm going to wield it. Okay. Let's talk about Ileana.
You want to do roll
Brad
call?
Bassick.
Oh, I'm here.
Ed
I don't have an
Repay,
agenda. I didn't know.
Joe Skowarick.
Here.
Nicole Kelly.
Here.
Jen Wilson.
Here.
John Novosich.
Okay. Now let's talk about Ileana.
Mr. President, thank you for indulging me. After sitting through what seems like 14 different study sessions on the same subject over and over and over again, I became frustrated.
Yeah.
So, and instead of taking it out in the meeting, I figured I would go home and take it out on my wife, and then she said, you need to have a study session. So, basically what we're losing, as a park board, what I'm seeing is we're losing focus on what our job is. And we've still got a responsibility to provide parks and recreation and those services to the town. Not to debate or think about what the engineering percentages are on projects, not to debate some of the minutia that should not be debated in a project that has no scope of work in it. So what I wanted to do, I guess in my mind, and again, bear with me, in my mind, I wanted to take what we can talk about, discuss, and scope, and hash it out. I don't think this is going to be longer than 3 or 4 hours, but I think there's like 4 or 5 items that we need to talk about. I think a lot of them got discussed, and Andy might have captured them, but I want to make sure, because as a park board, again, our job is to provide, without ownership of that property, to provide a product, and that product needs to enhance what we've already got.
Yeah.
And so I see a lot of confusion, I see a lot of overlaps, I see a lot of, hey, what about if we just did this instead of doing that? So, do you want to let me continue on my rant,
Well,
and
maybe
you
you
want to jump in? And
Why don't you tell the rest of us what your pain points are? What are the things that are really bothering you
Sure.
within the proposal? And then maybe we can all discuss
I-
from there, and everyone can do the same thing.
Right.
That's probably a good way to go.
I had, and Kristen, thank you for the information. Besides your somewhat of a agenda, you've got another copy of the structure point bids.
Yep.
And then you have a copy of what Andy showed us on a slide, but we didn't have a copy of. So thank you, Kristen, for providing that. When I look at, for sake of this session, we're looking at the high-intensity concept. I looked at it, as soon as I saw it, I looked at it and said, site prep and demolition, I don't even want to talk about it. It's useless to me. I'm a park board member. I know it has to be done, and stop talking about erosion control. Site lighting and utilities, same. Landscaping improvements, same. And finally, additional project costs, which are your design and engineering, general requirements, and contingencies. We seem to go back and forth, and then I lost track of where we were talking. We talked a little bit about playgrounds. We talked a little bit about pavilions. We talked a little bit about amphitheaters. But I didn't hear from any of us, I know I didn't speak, about what we're envisioning for this, and specifically under site improvements. If we want to go line by line, stormwater retention, pavement and curbs, fencing, it is what it is. We're not going to be able to debate that until we see a scope of work and figure out exactly what that is. When we start talking about playgrounds, sports fields, site furnishings, site structures, specifically pavilion, amphitheater, park shelters, maintenance building, the rec center. And as far as I'm concerned, I don't know how we, 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 we don't need to debate whether there should be an access on Lincoln Highway at, 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 for this, so. Specifically, the amphitheater and the pavilion sound to me like two stages where performers will be, or performers will be possibly there. And is that something that we need to have two of?
Let the record show that Irene showed up at 5:36.
Thank you, Irene. Is that something we need to have at that park? The amphitheater, I know we started whittling down, and like I said, some of the stuff I think Andy caught, but I won't know that until he comes back with whatever he got out of the meeting. But the amphitheater, we didn't need any fixed seating, and it was going to be a stage with, I thought, lawn seating and maybe some seating up front. But I don't think I ever knew that officially, and I don't think we ever discussed it. And believe me, I don't want to talk through the whole meeting, but go right ahead, jump on in.
No, I was just going to add that, looking at some of the notes from that meeting, in regards to the amphitheater, it was discussed to combine that with the pavilion, not having any type of built-in seating or tiered seating, but more of a large area as a flex space that was grass, and then that could accommodate numerous events. So I think that pavilion, in some concepts, was maybe a separate area very far from the stage, and those drawings were, maybe you would have another thing there, and there was talked about bringing that a little bit closer, so it would kind of be tied in. So if there was a performance on the stage, perhaps there was something in conjunction going on under, the pavilion. If it was bad weather, people may be under there, or if it was, vendors or something, food or whatever, would be under there. But it'd be in closer proximity, that's per what's in the notes, to the pavilion.
My memory was we asked them to combine the two and eliminate the seating and see how much that could reduce the cost. Because that could save us at least $1 million probably from what we talked about at the meeting. Maybe I'm misremembering the number. You're shaking your head.
No, you're not. You're not wrong.
Okay.
No.
But that was my understanding, was we were gonna ask them to combine the two concepts together in a practical manner to save us some money. We were also asking them to do that with the maintenance building and the rec center, to kind of, rather than have two separate buildings, have maybe, a larger building with a carve out, a little bit more basic, not as much pomp and circumstance, but had a carve out, garage area for all of our equipment and, all the maintenance things that we need to maintain that facility and the rest of the park facilities.
When we were discussing the amphitheater specifically, I wrote down much larger than Bulldog. And that goes back to some of my discussions or some of my interpretations of what we're doing. 13,000 square feet means nothing to me. I have never been to Bulldog Park. So when we say reduce it and rearrange the seating, I like that, because I don't see us having and needing that formal sit-down carved out seating. But do I also need something that apparently is twice the size of Bulldog Park, or at least much larger than Bulldog Park, for that facility? And is that something we're looking for as a board?
Well, I think my memory was no. I think we were attempting to compare it to Bulldog Park, and if memory serves, John, you can probably clarify on this. Bulldog Park is smaller than 13,000 square feet, and we were saying we do not need anywhere near that big of a space, especially if we were to combine it with the pavilion. We could probably cut it in half, if not more, and it'd still be perfectly usable and enjoyable and accomplish everything we want to accomplish.
Absolutely.
That was just practically what I
I'm
remember.
not
us
familiar
talking
with
about.
Bulldog Park either. Are any of you familiar with Centennial Park?
Yes.
Okay. Do you see us in that range of?
That was the example that I know Councilman Connolly mentioned that.
Right.
And that was the example that in my head I was thinking of too.
That's what I
There's
was
no
thinking
seating
of.
there, right? It's only lawn seating, but it is kind
Tiered.
of tiered
It is
lawn
tiered.
seating.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's all lawn seating, and it was meant to be like that kind of a space. And if we were to combine that with some type of a pavilion, you know, the pavilion's potentially off, you know, to the side, or maybe directly in front, and,
But I'm still a little confused as to what is the value of the pavilion? If you got the theater, what's the value of the pavilion?
Kind of where I struggle with, Joe, the same, is that I don't know what purpose the pavilion serves, and when I hear pavilion, it's something bigger than a gazebo.
so, the way I imagined it in my head is, if you think about the fest, you had the stage, what are we calling it?
Yeah.
The truck, whatever we call it,
The truck.
okay? The mobile stage that the band was on, and then everyone was underneath the tents, sitting at tables, eating and drinking, right?
Okay.
So, in my head, the tents are the pavilion, the stage is the amphitheater. And what we're asking them to do is make that into a kind of a permanent structure on the city, so that there is used in, like, when the elements are not necessarily favorable, but also just, you know, they can be used for whatever it needs to be used for. And then the stage, the amphitheater was meant to be where the.
The amphitheater.
The amphitheater, yeah.
And
That
I-
was in my head, that's what it sounded like.
A few years ago, I was on the, we would, um, and I was dropping my kids off to volunteer at one of the Crown Point PTO fun fairs, and it was pouring that day, and I saw all these families still, I mean, they were just all going to and they had it at Bulldog Park.
Yeah.
Under the pavilion.
Pavilion, yeah.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, even when it's indoor, we have like half of the turnout compared to, you know, the outdoor. And I know you're not comparing apples to apples, but what I loved about it is that, you know, it was pouring, and these people were still like, we're gonna go, and they were able to, you know, enjoy the fun fair outside under the pavilion while it was pouring down. And I think with our type of weather here, I like to be outside, and I feel like I like to be outside, and I feel like in the Midwest it's kind of hard. So I think if we can provide some kind of structure where you can stay outside longer and enjoy the weather a little more, give you some shade from the sun, you know, provide some cover from the rain. I just think it'll, you know, keep people outdoors longer throughout the year.
So what is the square footage we were talking about for the pavilion?
Well, we don't know, because we had asked for some, if I remember correctly, we had asked for some measurements on like some comparables. No, I don't think anyone gave us a square footage on Centennial.
Let me ask this, is Warman Park, what we have there in all of our parks, are those considered pavilions? Where people have,
Reader?
no, Warman, where people have picnics
Yeah.
with hanging.
Yeah, they're very small, but yeah.
I think you need to go, I think you need to go to Bulldog Park and check it
Yeah,
out. Because it's
not
really nice. And, you know, we have the pavilion, it provides, you know, you could have a picnic there. But like this, people have events, there's music coming out of the ceiling. It's a whole vibe, the lighting and the you know, they have, you know, the flooring is like,
Homework assignment for before our next
Well,
board meeting. Members should stop by Bulldog Park and just check it out.
I mean, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world.
and
Well,
Belleville has a real
well,
nice.
I've
The
driven
Valpo
by
Pavilion
it.
is excellent too.
I
Like if
like
you're going to
Valpo's.
dinner at
Yeah.
Stacks or something,
Yeah.
it's right next
Yes.
door. Go over there and look at it.
And I've driven by it, and I understand they have the big space, but now we have that and an amphitheater. So I'm still, I guess, why do we need both?
Well, so what they do at Bulldog Parks is they have their theater, their amphitheater in, like, to the front of it, and then there's open space.
Okay.
And then right butting up against it is the pavilion. So you can stay out on the lawn, or they have like food trucks or beer under
Covered
the
area, yeah.
pavilion. you might be not as close to the music.
Yeah.
So it does bleed into each other. So, I think it's helpful having a stage, music, and
They have
theater, and stuff like that.
I definitely,
Those ends, I think, are dictated in the fact that there's a refrigerated ice rink system
Yes,
under both of them.
yes,
So they have to be large to encompass that, ice rink.
yeah. We don't do that. We have.
We don't
lots
need
of
maybe to
flexibility.
go as large.
Yeah.
But to Jen's point, something like we have at Roman would be inadequate. So you would be looking at maybe something in between that's large enough where you could have vendors and but not, maybe it doesn't need to be 20,000 square feet because you don't really have an ice rink. In the medium intensity concept, they had a larger pavilion, but I think that was with the ice rink.
Yeah, it was with the.
In this
yeah.
one, the pavilion's smaller, but, that needs to be determined. I think we're in agreement that there'd be a large enough pavilion, but it doesn't maybe have to be supersized if there's not going to be an ice rink under there.
Yeah, it didn't make a ton of sense to me. They must have had the ice rink separate, because you can't have a 15,000 square foot ice rink underneath the 3,500 square foot.
The second page has the,
I was looking at the high intensity.
yeah, the second page has the pavilion,
Right,
what is that, 26,000 square feet?
yeah, much, much, much bigger, right.
Yeah, so it's much larger.
So everyone who has been out to Bulldog, and Nikki just showed me a picture of, she showed me a picture. When I hear pavilion, I think Reeder Park. And when I look at Reeder Park, I see 10 to 15 foot ceiling and X number of square feet. Bulldog Park is 20 to 25 feet high.
Yeah.
And half a football field.
Yeah.
Covered up so that you can see, you got a line of sight to the stage. Now
Yes.
I
Yeah, I mean, I would say the pavilion is maybe a little bit longer than this whole entire room.
Yeah.
Probably,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I would guess 40%.
Maybe, yeah.
That would be my guess.
Ah, thank you,
Oh, wow.
Kristen.
Okay. Okay. How many square feet is that? Yeah, there you go.
Did you say 2,000?
When you ask about Centennial, are you asking about the whole park in general, or just
Yeah, especially the building that's gonna fall.
the whole park in
Um,
general is 2 acres?
No, I know. I mean, we're focusing on the amphitheater in
Amphitheater.
Centennial, and the space behind it.
Okay.
Centennial Park is also includes a 9-hole golf course.
Yeah, I
don't
was gonna
think we're
say that
talking about.
includes the golf course, right?
I don't think we're talking about that kind of, I'm all in favor of golf courses,
No.
but I think we got enough of those.
I'm going to say too, when, as the newest member on the board, coming in late to the scene, I feel like I'm sensing some contradictory thoughts on what is going to go into this land. So I feel like this structure point, I feel like they saw 72 acres of land, and we're like,
fill it.
let's fill it.
Let's develop it.
And then I get to some of these meetings, and I'm like, wait, so we only want to fill like 10 acres? Confused. So I need to know, I mean, I like the idea of a big one, but like, I don't know the, I, if we build it, they will come. But maybe that's not what people want. Maybe, I think if we build something on 72 acres, we will definitely get people from other towns to come. I'm not sure everybody that's participating in all this wants that. So I think for me to make any decisions, I kind of need to know what the main goal with that is, because that'll help me figure out what's needed and what's not.
I think that's something like we've never really discussed in detail. What are we looking at? Are we looking at a project for our community, our Schererville residents to use, that community? Or are we looking at developing a destination?
Right.
For
Which
other
I think we could do either one, but I think we need to all be on the same page of which one we're going towards. And I don't know who is I don't think we're the decision makers of that. So I feel like we need to get the decision makers to let us know so that we're not as,
So I would just say for practicality purposes, whatever we do there is going to be a destination for other communities. I mean, when we did the esports thing in our little community center, we had people from all over Northwest Indiana come to that. So I think it would be, I almost think separating the two is not necessarily useful, because honestly, it's going to be both regardless. I mean, people from other
I agree with you, but I feel like when I'm hearing feedback, I feel like some people do not want that.
Well, I think-
So if you build
yeah.
it small enough, people won't come. If you build it at a size, and I don't think that's a bad idea. I just don't know if that's what everybody involved wants.
I think-
From feedback I'm getting,
Yeah.
I think that might not be what some people have in mind.
Well, I think one of the that's exactly what they did. I think we're looking at the price tag of that and saying, do we need to fill the space? Like, if we did half the space, and it was just like open fields with the bike path through, like, wouldn't that save us some money and we could still do something really awesome there? So I think I'm hearing what you're hearing, but I'm hearing it coming from more of like okay, now that we know what it would take to fill it, let's look at what we can afford to fill. And, you know, when our bonding capacity is $30 million and you got a price tag of almost 80, that's obviously a big gap to fill. And, you know, unless we find some very generous benefactors, you know, and the price of entry, like even if we take the lowest one, $31 million is the minimum we have to spend just on infrastructure and getting the land ready and everyone else before we build a single thing on it. So, you know, we're already above, in the lowest intensity thing, based on what they drew up. We are already at our bonding capacity if we pay for this all by ourselves. We're already beyond it, you know what I mean? And so,
And that was brought up about scaling maybe the size, like do we
Yeah.
develop 25 acres of the site or a portion
Yeah.
of it? And like even in the drawings, there are sports fields, and we have an area with soccer fields now.
Yeah.
That, you know, could that be repurposed? Can that be
Right.
renovated, regraded, reseeded, sprinkler system, and utilize that space that we have existing? And to your point, Brad, then maybe the rest of it's just more passive in a trail, and that was kind of talked about the last
right,
meeting.
this would be way more efficient. It'd be easier to maintain, it would cost less every year, and it wouldn't cost as much upfront to
Yeah,
lay the groundwork for
because
it.
if you remember, there was a pavilion that we all noticed that was way in the corner, that was
Yeah.
like, how are people going to get there, where are they going to
Gonna
park?
get there, yeah.
So just to build something out that way for the sake of filling that space, is going to be a lot more money just to
unnecessary,
make it accessible, and if you run utilities there, if there needs to be a restroom out in that section,
Yep.
it's going to add to the cost, so it would make sense to scale it back, and what we don't have are any indication of, you know, what the phasing would be.
Yeah,
We
and-
know there's going to have to be the
gonna be
infrastructure,
phasing
which would
anyway,
be maybe phase one in a sense, but, you know, what exactly do we want to focus on if there was a reduction in the size?
Yeah,
And it sounds, I don't know, is it the amphitheater, is it doing an area? You talk about passive or community versus destination, you know, what's going to draw people in here? And part of that's programming or events.
yeah.
because that's what we see, or a facility that maybe someone's going to rent or want to use. If there was a big pavilion, maybe there's a group that wants to
Yeah.
do a hunt and gather type of event or something. And then the other part, to Nikki's point, is community. How is, Joe Public going to use it on a day-to-day basis if they just want to go there on a Tuesday morning? What are they going to be able to do? Is there a way they could use that park and not?
Yeah. And just as like an example, think about, we've talked about Centennial. Like, one of the reasons that Centennial implemented the pay-to-park feature that they implemented was they were drawing so many people in from Illinois just to walk the path. I mean, that was all, and go up the hill. I mean, that was all they were doing. I mean, yeah, people golf, that's different. I mean, the golf thing, they waived parking if you golf, so they didn't care about the golf. It was literally just the path that drew people in. And so that's my point, is if whatever we do is gonna de facto be a destination for people, people are gonna come to it because it's a big, wide open space. I don't think we need to necessarily fill it.
Well, to that point, and I agree with you with the parking, do we consider doing that as a revenue? Part of it, we're looking at the expense, we're also discussing the revenue opportunities, and that may be one of them. For people out of the area, they have to pay X amount.
Yeah, that's a creative funding source idea. I mean,
Munster, don't they charge if you're a non-resident?
if you're a non-resident,
$5 or something per car, something like
you pay by the minute, or you pay by the hour, I think. But like we took our family there to just play at the playground and walk around and just kind of have an outside day. And it was, I don't know, $50. So I certainly think that's a very, but for residents, you get a sticker and you don't have to pay. You're allowed in. Yeah, so I definitely think that's something that's worth exploring, but, Munster doesn't get all the revenue of that. They have to hire a company. They got to put in the camera that captures the photo, and, then you got to chase after people on tickets and stuff like that. But that is a potential revenue source. It would be worthwhile, John, like reaching out to, I can't think of his name, the guy who does our playgrounds, who's on the Munster board. You know what I'm talking about? And just asking, hey, what kind of revenue do you guys bring in from that?
Yeah, I've really done that.
You have?
Yeah.
And do you want to share or no?
Well, I mean, they're going to, net over six figures,
Okay, so it's not a lot. Okay,
but it's a source of revenue.
yeah. Yeah, and we need all we can get, so.
And, there's so much here to focus on. I don't want to, I guess, you look at the back end and you say, is the budget going to support this? What's it going to take to support all this? What's it going to take to program this? What's going to be the impact on the staffing? And then I think part of that equation is, what revenue streams do you have coming in to this to at least help cover your costs? Centennial, is a high-maintenance park.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of costs involved. So, they were looking at a way to offset some of those costs, especially for groups, users who aren't really from their tax base.
Yep.
And I think that's maybe the direction or some of the interpretation of not having a destination. I think you just have to make sure that whatever you're going to build, you maybe need to prepare. There's going to be users that are outside Schererville, and you could be inundated with a lot of, user groups depending on what you build or what the attraction is. And, are you doing that for the general good of the whole county or for what demographic? And how are you getting something in return for that?
Yeah.
So if we had whatever it would be, the only one, for miles around, whatever that would be in Lake County, you're going to draw people because that's the only one that's miles around. And that's fine if that's what you want to go after, but then you got to be prepared to, to recoup some of your costs, and you'll be having more of a business model.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, the return on investment thing, I think, is huge, right? If even on the $30 million, how long would it take us to recover $30 million in for the taxpayers of Schererville on this project, if we, just looking at the infrastructure.
Well,
It's a big number, and it's gonna take a very, very, very long time. And, you know, I think about Rorman and how much we spent and how long we spent on those ballparks. And I think we spent 1.7 million on those ballparks. We're not gonna recover what we spent in my lifetime.
Well,
Like, there's no way we're gonna recover what we spent in my lifetime. And I do think it's worth asking, like,
John, what was the cost of the last snorkel that the fire department bought,
What was the cost of the last?
that the fire department just bought?
I don't know. What
I
that's
don't know.
2 million?
Probably in that range.
What's a snorkel? I don't know what a snorkel.
Fire truck?
Oh, it's called a snorkel?
If you want to play ROI games, you can. This is about public service and public amenities within reason.
Yeah.
If you're looking for ROI, you're never going to find it in a public job.
Yeah,
So,
it's a good point.
So I just found this regarding parking at Centennial Park. The parking system is managed by Asta Parking. The agreement between the town and Asta stipulates an 80-20 profit share, 80% going to the town, 20% going to Asta. This is from 2022.
Okay.
The gross revenue for both parties from April to October was just over 400,000. So the remaining profit after some expenses was about 350. The town of Munster's share was almost $300,000. Just to give everybody an idea.
Yeah. That's bigger than what you said, John. No, I'm just kidding.
What's that?
I said that number's bigger than what you said, John.
well, he was 6 figures.
Yeah.
Yeah, he said 6 figures.
Yeah, and I don't know if
I thought he
there's,
said, I thought he said near 6 figures.
Oh.
So
no,
I
there's,
misheard.
I don't know if there's, staffing costs, if that's taken that into account, but, to Brad's point, there's a lot of administration that goes along with that.
Yeah, oh, sure, absolutely. Especially when my wife gets a ticket because she forgets to put her license plate in or doesn't know how to use the machine and then calls and complains someone's got to take her calls, so.
Well, that's the Asta Parking.
right.
They're
I know,
Send-
I know.
not Irene and Kristen.
In case my wife is watching, I'm making a joke at her expense. No, I'm not,
You will pay for that dearly?
yes. So to me, I think if I'm just trying to think through, okay, like, what do we need in the space? Playgrounds don't really interest me. I understand that if we're gonna do something, we're probably gonna have to have a playground. I think the playground that was in the high-intensity thing was way too small. It should be a playground, more like Central Park in Griffith, a much bigger playground, not the smaller kind of neighborhood-esque toy that they had in the building. And honestly, that should be one of the last things to go in. We've got enough playgrounds in Schererville, so I'm not super concerned about that. To me, I think back to the survey and what people themselves have told me they want. And those two things are a rec center and an amphitheater. I think that's the priority. And we gotta obviously make those things work in our budget, but everything after that, like, to me, that's, if the infrastructure is phase 1, let's say, or maybe you break that into 2 phases, those have to be the next phase after those are done, for this to be worthwhile. Just, those are my thoughts. I don't know if you guys have an opinion on that. But we're gonna have to start figuring out phases at some point too, so.
I agree with that. And I do like an ice skating rink. Only because it brings in winter stuff. It could be something else if there's a better idea. But I like the idea
Snow
of
skating
having
rink. No, I'm just
something
kidding.
for the winter as well. So, but yeah, other than that, like, definitely the pavilion with the, again, I hate to copycat Crown Point and Velpo, but I think I like that. And
Those
I
are
like a rec
used.
center.
The
Yeah.
community loves those.
Yes.
That
And our
concept is
kids
working for
from
multiple
Schererville
communities.
Go there. So.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
Yeah.
also not a
Yes.
standalone, this is where we skate.
Right.
This is where we have concerts, this is where we
Right.
have farmers market. This is a multiple purpose.
One-stop
Yes.
shop.
Yes.
You go here for this, in the wintertime you go here, and that's what you do. part of what I wanted to do is talk about scaling these things. And we started with the amphitheater and the pavilion. Next on my list, if we're all gonna follow my list, is the rec center. Take out a high-intensity and build a facility that is twice the size of our current rec center, roughly,
Bigger.
twice the size.
Yeah, roughly twice the size of the community center.
Yeah.
What am I putting in there? My-
Discussed upper level walking track, didn't we?
Yep.
And then courts on the main
Walking.
level.
Walking
Pickleball.
track, basketball, pickleball, small stage.
Similar to, I haven't been in there lately, but the Lincoln Center
The field house at Lincoln.
before, I haven't seen it lately, but I remember the Lincoln Center cube that got added and what that did. And there was walking track around at the same level, but you're looking for something elevated, more like.
Doesn't have to be.
It doesn't have to be. Fitness Point in Munster, if you've been there lately.
I've not.
I think this rec center, John, correct me if I'm wrong, for the high intensity, when they showed us pictures of it, it was a 2-story, was it
Yeah.
not? It was, right?
Monstrosity.
I don't know if it's actual 2 stories or, just the height of it because. Now, in some notes here, Lincoln Center is approximately 300 by 140, 42,000 square feet. So it's a larger footprint than what is,
But that's not
Yeah.
the whole of Lincoln Center, right?
that's
The-
like-
no, that's the gym-only
That's
area.
just the
Really?
gym area?
That was, what they added.
Yeah.
4 courts and the fitness center.
23.4.
I think it's the 4 courts. Yeah.
Can we make
I
like an
think-
expandable gym? You know how they make those pants that will like stretch out? Maybe we can make a gym that will stretch out? No? Okay. It's worth a
Oh,
shot.
would you know how big the LC field house is?
Pardon me?
The LC field house, how big that is?
That's probably a little smaller than the Lincoln Center. That's probably about 3.5 courts, you know. But it's close.
But I think there's potentially, I'm doing this from memory, but the pictures of the rec center, there was a lot of extras, like. Facility with no grills, the gym, and walking area. Extra cost,
Yeah, it's a big building. It's a big barn
Let-
at that
let me-
point.
Let me offer one more suggestion. What about if you took our current center and blew the backside out of it? And expanded that out toward Sherwood Golf? Would that give you enough room to put 4 courts and a walking track in?
not 4 courts, 3 courts max, I would guess.
I don't know that.
This says online that the Lake Central Field House is 836,000 square feet.
No, I think that's
Really?
the whole school.
That might be the whole.
800
Yeah, I
School.
think that's the whole school.
Yeah.
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 Oh, okay. What
Yeah.
kind of addition? Oh, the entire building, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
I was like, that seems kind of big.
I don't think we can afford that.
We did.
John, do you know what the dimensions are roughly of the community center? Length and width?
What's that?
Do you know roughly what the dimensions of the community center are, length and width?
Our community center?
Yes.
It's a little bit over 12,000 square feet. The meeting rooms in that area is probably more like 45, about 50 by 150, and then you have the front offices and the restrooms and the little Tykes room that adds to it. but it's a little bit over 12,000 square feet.
So the meeting room's 50 by 150? So
If
50,
you add all those 3 rooms in the kitchen.
yeah.
And of course, you got hallways and all that too, so.
I get it. I bring that up only because I don't need to fill, I go back and forth, and I'm sure a lot of you do too. I don't need to put how big is this thing? 23,000-foot rec center on there to get me 4 courts and a walking track if I already have an existing building that I can expand.
That's fine, but you have to go to the Saturday meeting with the residents that live nearby to our current facility and convince them that it's a good idea.
I don't,
I had my turn.
I will, and I have a little bit of a problem with that, but no. We don't have to do anything if we want to expand our property.
Yeah,
We're polite neighbors.
I know,
But
I know,
it-
I was a joke.
I know-
I'm
I
just
know you
kidding.
are.
I'm
I
just
know.
kidding.
I'm looking to talk about taking care of some of the needs that are expressed in this project with existing facilities that we have. Do I need to fill that with a building that I could take care of that need in town that would be a little bit more centrally located that already gets used?
My worry would be, I don't know that, well, we'd have to expand the parking.
For sure.
There's a lot that would have to be done.
There's a lot that
That's
has,
to make that.
there's a lot that has to be done here.
Yeah, that's true. I mean,
That's why-
I'm
and that's
not
why I
saying
brought-
you're wrong.
that's
but
why I
I'm just
brought it
saying,
up.
Yeah,
And I'll be honest, the reason that I bring that up, and there's a couple, John brought up the other one about the fields at Rorman.
And virtually, what you're saying is the whole Lincoln Center, because the right side of it is the courts, the little stage, and on the left is offices
Correct.
for people to play cards, for people to play ping pong. It's our community center.
Yeah.
I mean, so virtually,
And
it's all in one spot there also.
Go ahead.
I have to agree with that. I kind of like at least exploring that idea, at least talking about it, because think about it. We have the brand-new splash pad. We have a $2 million community center where our staff is located. So as far as running that rec center, that's where our staff is already. And so it's
It's not a mandate from me.
No, and it's not a mandate. I'm just saying.
I want to talk about it
It's
because.
worth talking about, I think. I think it's worth exploring. There's nothing that says, so yes, the community wants these things, and I want the community to have everything they want. But do we have to put every single last thing on the Ileana property?
yeah, certainly not.
You know what I mean? How many millions and millions and millions of dollars would it save to expand the community center
Yeah,
as opposed to putting up this humongous building at Ileana? Just a thought.
it's a good thought.
It was triggered by the thought of spending $15 million of our bonding all on one project. Because on day 2, after we're bonded out, there aren't any other projects. I don't know when our bond gets renewed and we can spend some more, but it's gonna be a while.
Yeah,
You know, to Nikki's point, you're going to have duplication of staff with 2 buildings. Kristen will be the only one in the community center.
All right. But
But, you know,
Lots of more court
you're not going to abandon that building. There's still going to be the functionality of what, you know, goes on there. And to what degree, it seems to make sense, you know, if you have everything under one roof, you have maybe less staffing needs, and it goes back again to the, you know, the budget on the back end of this and what's going to cost to operate everything. And then if the rec center was at Ileana and it took off and you were getting stuff, maybe there's people want to go there and do yoga or do some classes, and, you know, now we have that at the community center, so we're kind of, you know, split in a sense, unless that got repurposed as a senior center or something that was totally different in scope. But
Yeah.
again, you're adding, you know, duplicating staff.
Right, because if
So-
we repurpose that building,
Yeah.
think about it, nowhere in this plan, any of these plans, is moving our offices.
There's no maintenance, there's no staffing, there's no nothing in there.
So
So,
how would we get the answer to that question? Like, how would we find out what it would cost to do what Ed's talking about?
Don't blame me. But I also, you know, and
Because honestly, I want to go to the council with it right away and be like, look, guess what? We're going to drop $15 million out of this budget because Ed's smart and thought about it the right
No.
way. And Nicole pushed for it vigorously. And the rest of us, I think, are generally think it might not be a terrible idea. No, you don't like the idea? No, you still want a rec center there?
I mean, I think when you have the dollar, you know, when you have a budget, then you have to do what you have to do.
Yeah.
So
Right.
I don't think, you know, if that's what we have to do, that's what we have to do. I'd rather have facilities like that than no facilities
Sure.
like that. But I do like the idea of having like a central hub
Yeah.
where people, you know, might go to the rec center, play a game, and then, you know, go out and, I don't know, walk the trail or go grab a coffee but this is kind of where my head is, where I'm like confused, because we have 72 acres of land. Is that like what, so that's kind of what I was thinking it was supposed to be, and now we're like, I don't know.
Well, I originally thought we're gonna fill up the land until we saw what it costs,
Right.
knowing that we have 30 million, so that's why we scaled it down. But I love the idea of combining the two.
Except nobody's giving us a budget yet.
I
So,
think the budget is 30, I think that, and part of the problem is that, you know, we have people that are supposed to be finding us
Right.
funds, but they're saying, we can't go get you funds until you tell us what you can commit. And we're saying, well, we can't commit anything until we don't, I totally agree with you on that. Don't get me started down that rabbit hole.
Yeah.
But,
That's what the last 3, 4, 15 meetings have been about, is not real discussion about options, but, oh, shoot, we're going down that rabbit hole now, and it's like, oh, you know, we could spend 20 minutes talking about how much Munster's making on parking, but it don't mean jack, because we haven't built anything yet.
but I also
It's
hate,
important.
I also hate to like sell ourselves short or cut ourselves short if it is a possibility, because I can see it being like this really great place for the town, for, you know, or, you know, then we're just talking into like expanding on stuff, and that's
But-
like a whole different.
well,
But it can be. I mean, do I need to take that rec center that's in the high intensity and make it as big as it is?
No, we don't need to do that.
No,
but-
that's what I'm saying. Can I satisfy some wants and needs by expanding and not building at that facility? We've never talked about it until just now, that I know of, at least
And-
that, or I wasn't invited.
and what I would like to know is, I would like to know how much that would cost in rough numbers to basically take up all of the space to the path
But
within code and expand the rec center behind itself so that we can save money on this project. Because I bet it would save us substantially.
It could. I wouldn't
Could be
want to.
$10 million.
I wouldn't want to diminish or take away anything from an amphitheater, which is, I think, what we're going after here. It should be supported, but does it all have to go out there? You know, no, it doesn't. Do I need, do I need more soccer fields? No, I need to take care of the 3 or 4 soccer, or 6 soccer
Yeah.
fields at Rorman that needed to be plowed under, as John mentioned earlier, and we've talked about forever, resurfaced, irrigated, and brought back so that it can be a true multi-surface facility. And it all can be grass, and it all can be wide open, and people can run their dogs, and people can shoot golf out there like they normally do. But it's something that's more, it's not a new creation. I don't need to do anything new. I can expand the backside of our community center. I can take care of some of the I'll call them soccer fields at Rohrman, and get some of the facility needs met by doing that and not building brand new. I'm not opposed to building brand new. I'm not opposed to filling up every single acre and square foot of that facility. But are there different ways to do it? I wanted more than anything for this board to discuss that, because this is part of what we're supplying or supposed to serve the residents. And things run into my head as people are saying, oh, we're just going to bond out 15 million of park. Well, after we're bonded out unless the clerk treasurer or anyone else wants to argue with me about it. What am I going to do on day 2 when I don't have any more money? And I need to put in a park at, I need to put in a park at Nova South. I need to put a park somewhere else. Then I got to go back to the council? Yeah, I guess so, but I don't know. It's something I think of when somebody tells me I need to empty my pocketbook and go, you're all into this, and you're sold as a park board. So that's kind of what I was thinking. That, like I said, when I got through all of this and I'm writing down notes and I'm jotting down things in my sleep, scaling these amenities to meet our needs and offering alternatives. I can't put an amphitheater anywhere else. It's impossible. Autumn Creek's filled up. Take sessions there, but
Can I ask a question real quick? Okay, so from my understanding, you're thinking that overall you would expand on the community center we already have, right? It's just your rough idea,
In
thought.
lieu of a rec center.
So
Yeah.
when you say that, do you mean then at Ileana to not have anything out there? So just a pavilion? There would be no, I guess like I don't know what I'm thinking.
the two
But how they
things-
wanted the
We
big
wouldn't
pole
have 2 rec
barn with,
centers.
The two things that I have
Yeah.
down here are scale it, what it is size-wise.
Right.
And I put in parentheses, what's the purpose? Why is that rec center out at Ileana?
yeah,
What is it for, and what is it supposed to be doing?
right.
So, yeah, if you're gonna put that much amphitheater and that stuff, you've gotta have a home base somewhere. We'll give you a trailer or something to work out of it.
So I guess my thought is, does this now split us? You know, and then that, in the end, kind of makes it a little more difficult for us, because now we're both trying to accomplish the same thing, but half of us are over here, half of us are over there. And then too, with the community center, is the community that lives around there even going to be okay with us expanding this building? Because I feel like that was something that was told of me when, this building was first made, put together, built, whatever.
We'll find out how many phone calls John gets tomorrow,
Yep.
but
Right, I mean, look at the splash pad, how that was,
I get it. I get
That's
it.
why I said Ed had to go to the Saturday meeting, because I was
Yeah,
like, I
I
already
was
did
there.
one.
I get it, and I believe it.
Yeah.
We don't talk about it, though.
right.
And I do not get a chance to discuss that in
Right.
those meetings we have.
One thing about the community center, and don't get me wrong, it's a great space. I don't think it was built for programs or events. I think it was built for rentals, to be honest. Because we're kind of like just having this open space here and then told to throw a class here. You know what I mean? Like, things are not made for, I guess, like the little ones. We do have one small bathroom for them, but I guess me and John were at Bella Boost today, and there's just a lot, I'm not saying we have to go that route, but there's a lot of things there that are built for kids, as opposed to our building, it's kind of like, it's for rentals.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just something to think about.
I don't know that. I
Yeah.
agree with you 100%.
Right,
because
and
I
we've
don't know-
overgrown it, like, we have stuff everywhere. So,
So the thing that I want to say to that is,
yeah.
do we know within this high-intensity rec center, this beautiful big building, was those classrooms incorporated into this design? Or are we now talking about adding on to
what's already there,
this,
yeah.
this high-intensity
Right.
concept?
And
That's
you know-
something else that we need to know. We need to know what's going into this rec center,
It's a-
offices,
It's gonna be about
classrooms.
money, it's gonna be about size, it's gonna be about square footage and all
Right.
that, but it's gonna be about, does it meet your needs and John's
Right.
needs about what you guys are trying to do
Yes.
with
Mm-hmm. Right. And
programs
I
and
think
everything
that
else.
instead of putting, I mean, yes, all this prep and demolition, that's something you guys need to know about, but it's almost like the structure portion should have been more highlighted. Should have had more details, you know, because that's what you guys really need to focus on, not how much concrete is out there, you know.
We as a board need to
Mm-hmm.
focus on that. The council members have different objectives and priorities
Right.
than we do, but
Right.
obviously, we're appointed by them, but
Yeah.
again, that's kind of why I made everybody show up here on Tuesday. Because as a park board, we need to discuss this so that we're all kind of going in every,
To the same, yeah.
something, or at least listening to everyone else talk about, besides me, about what might be missing, or what we're not
And you
seeing.
know, I listen to all of this and I kind of feel like it's almost like a buffet. They're giving you way too many things. We're trying to
Absolutely.
pack everything in, and just like a buffet, most of it goes to waste. You know,
Absolutely.
so it's like, what do we really want to focus on? Is it sports, it's programs, events? So,
And,
That's-
you know, the community center was kind of built looking at what we're doing and meeting our needs at that time. So, you know, there are program elements that go in there.
Right.
Obviously, the, you know, daddy-daughter dances and some of the events that we had. Before you arrived, you know, there was a lot of programs we did in this type of environment, in this room
right,
or the other room.
I remember you.
So I think some of that was modeled at that, after that. And then we did the cardio for exercise classes in Little Tykes. But the rental component was also thought about to bring revenue in to help cover cost. So when you're asking what's going to go in this rec center, and if it's going to be gymnasium and courts and that, yeah, we don't have that at the community center.
Right,
But we also are not currently programming anything along those lines. So it's going to be a whole new direction from a staffing and departmental programming than
Oh,
what
yeah,
we're
you're
currently doing. So the community center kind of morphed from what we were currently doing. And if you're looking at Ileana and the amphitheater and, you know, taking events we have at Reader and putting in Ileana, that's great. But the rec center is something that we're not doing at all right now. We're not running programs somewhere at a school doing youth basketball or doing volleyball leagues, or, you know, we're not even doing softball leagues. We're really not doing any sports.
Right.
So it's getting into a whole new direction. And I think what Nikki says is kind of, we need to know what goes in there because it's going to affect operations.
yes.
And that's where the pro forma comes in, Brad, you know, of
Right.
this is what you're building, what's going to cost for utility costs, what's going to cost for operations, for staffing, you know, maintaining it. You know, if you have a maple floor in there, it's going to be a little bit more maintenance than if you have a hard rubber surface like the old LC.
No, and as everyone probably knows, not anywhere in here is maintenance or operations costs, zero.
And that's a big one.
That's huge.
If
Definitely.
I know or don't know what is this supposed to be, then how am I supposed to budget for that? But we know it's going to be more. But
So
Oh, yeah.
I think, I want to kind of steer us a little bit, because we could go down the rabbit hole of just how expensive this is all going to be.
All day
10,
long.
15, 20 years from now. Like, we could sit here until Ed falls asleep.
I got a Sprite. I'm
Right,
good
you're
for
good, okay.
another half hour.
I want to make sure, like, we all know this is going to be expensive. I think a big takeaway from this meeting is we need to explore what it would look like if we took the rec center out of this equation entirely and expanded our community center to become a rec center where it's currently
But they're
at.
just saying that they don't want that.
Well, that's not what I
The
heard. I heard you saying
professionals.
if we have a rec center out there, now you're split. Right, if it's all in one place, then all the staff's together.
Right.
So,
They're split, if the rec
The
center's
rec-
out there, you got some staff
but
out
what,
there
so
and
what do
some
you
staff here.
want? Like, do you, because I guess, I feel like you're saying the other one isn't built for what, doing all this other stuff. Do you not want that, or do you want that facility that's built for that kind of stuff?
No, yes, I think that we all want that.
Oh, yes, good answer.
Wait a minute.
You're so political.
I was just at that meeting.
Yeah, it's just a lot. So, and I know you guys are the same. There's so many thoughts in your head about what and this. I even thought at one point, like, okay, we're all moved to Ileana. The community center, now what do you do with this building? And I was like, it could still focus on rentals, and I would see it being a senior center. Where it's more giving back to them, somehow incorporating like an overflow where, we have these free events for the seniors, because we have a lot of older people in our neighborhood, and they're, but I'm just saying it's easier for them right there to come to this, and I think it would make them happier.
If it never gets discussed,
Yeah.
we don't know.
Exactly.
And that's the problem.
Right.
In these meetings, we can talk about it and joke about it, and even though I'd rather not be recorded,
Right.
go right ahead. But
Yeah.
it's about what could be. And unfortunately, we could do anything with this. You give me
Yeah.
$80 million, you can, and that just, I don't care who it is, your head will explode and it'll fill up with ideas.
Yeah.
I've been writing for 4 days, 5 days,
Right.
making sure that I've explored just about every option that I can to trim this down, but make this still something. Can I get away with taking some part of the rec center at Ileana, whatever that building is or the purpose of that is, and using current facilities, maybe expanded, to take care of that?
Right.
Well, another thought, I don't know if it's ever thought about, is, maybe you guys kind of want to just keep it as it is. You don't really want to go into that expansion of, different kind of programs that a rec center would provide. Is it like an option or something to we build the facility and then we hire a company to run it? And, or like, kind of sell it to them or lease it to them, where
There-
they come in and?
There are communities in the area that do just that.
Yeah. there are.
Bulldog does that.
Okay.
Bulldog does that,
So is that something that, like, kind of leave the rec center kind of as it is, and then there will be more opportunities to do more stuff for seniors and stuff like that, and then a new rec center, have somebody lease it out, buy it out, and that takes some of the pressure off of us too, or?
Well, so I think, one, when you're hiring that out, they're gonna take a pretty substantial portion of the revenue, and we're gonna bear a pretty substantial portion of the cost.
Sure.
Because we're gonna have to build the facility. They're not gonna kick in to build the facility, so I would say
Okay.
that's one thing. I would say it's reasonable to look into that as an option, but I think we need to have something to compare it to.
Yeah,
And the way we have something to
yes, I
compare it
agree.
to is to say, what would it look like if
Right.
we expanded our current community center to become more rec center-y, and like right off the bat, it's gonna save us $14.04 million in the high-intensity plan. If we spend $4 million of that expanding the community center to making it bigger and more practical, we have more money that we can, A, the cost of the project just goes down. B, we can spend a little bit more money on some of the things that are there to make them nicer. Does that make sense? And so I
But
think,
I
I just think we have to
feel-
explore that avenue. I absolutely think we do.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like you were kind of saying that you're not really sure that that would be welcomed, where the
Well, I
current
know you're
rec
worried
center
about
is.
that. I'm worried about that too.
Yeah, we
But I
all
think Ed's
are.
point is valid. We own the land, it's our property, we're good neighbors.
We're real good neighbors right now.
We-
I
you know-
I don't want to be a bad neighbor to anyone, but I understand that there's some,
Nobody likes change, I get it.
Right.
I sat through the 4-hour meeting on the splash pad, and I got screamed at by lots of people that are much older than me, and they didn't say nice things to me, but I took it, and if it saves us $10 million, you know,
Right. I mean-
I'm not comfortable spending $10 million of taxpayer money to have it not be in someone's backyard. You know what I mean? Like, that seems kind of silly to me, especially when you know, it could be done really well. So I think we have to explore it. It's not gonna be nothing we do is gonna be popular. There's gonna be a constituency of people, no matter what we do, that's ticked off about it.
The best
No
part,
avoiding it.
the best part, it's not our problem technically.
Right. Yeah, the council can do it.
So.
And they'll
The sound's still working, right?
And they'll tell us that we will deal with it, right? I mean, I was
But-
at that meeting, so, you know.
And I get it. And again, we're not going to solve anything tonight. I wanted to be able to talk about this openly enough. And we're into it now for an hour, and I'm only a third of the way through my list. You're laughing, but I am.
I believe you. I believe you.
Can I,
Go ahead.
no, I'm sorry,
No,
I
go ahead.
finished. No, finish, please.
I
I'm
can't.
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
What I wanted to do is, again, I had 4 items, and we've made it through 2, which is what I expected, because there are so many possibilities to so many different things that don't get discussed.
Right.
And as a park board, focusing on park amenities and services, that needs to be discussed, and it can't be discussed in a open meeting with the town council, because they don't care. They do, but they don't, but yeah.
Yeah.
So I think on this topic of the whole rec center situation, like Brad said, we have to explore it,
Yep, we have to.
expanding the
We have to
community
do it.
center, versus building this rec center, and then two of my main questions in building the new rec center would be to what Irene was saying. So this rec center is half the size of the Lincoln Center, is that what we said?
Roughly, yeah.
Roughly half the size. So at 23,400 square feet, how many classrooms and offices can we get into this? And how many courts will that allow us to still have? That would be my 2 questions, so that we can make, we don't get to make the final decision, but you know what I mean. We
I
have
would
that
say,
info
I would say,
to know more
my understanding is the 23,000 is half the size of just the field house
of the Lincoln
of the
Center.
Lincoln Center, not the entire Lincoln Center. And so if you go to I mean, what are there, 4 courts?
I think so. It's been
Okay.
a while since I've been there.
So we maybe get 3 courts and
3
2
courts,
classrooms? Like,
yeah.
just to give you a rough, and a
Okay.
walk, and a
Okay.
walking path? That's probably, like, rough ballpark. That's what we're getting for $14 million,
Dollars.
But
right?
that
Is
20
it double decker though? I feel like one of the pictures, there was
It definitely
like classrooms
showed like it was
upstairs
gonna
or
be
something.
2
The
stories.
new one?
Yeah.
But the 23,000 is, John, correct me if I'm wrong, twice our rec center size,
Our community center.
our community center, I'm sorry.
Center. Nikki, what would you envision using classes for, classrooms?
Irene touched on that for programs. I might have misspoke when I said classroom, but Irene was talking about the need for rooms, smaller rooms for programs and whatnot.
I guess I was just thinking of things that are more focused. And like I said earlier today, me and John were at a meeting, and it was at Bella Boo's. And it's just like the whole design of it is
it's
for
great.
the kids. You know, I'm not necessarily saying, oh, like how the Lincoln Center, they have like their classrooms. It doesn't have to be
But-
that, but I think just more things that are geared towards,
That was easy for Lincoln Center, because Lincoln Center used to be Lincoln School.
right,
You whack that off, the
Yeah.
school goes out, and then you go, oh, what am I gonna do with all these classrooms? Pff, perfect.
right. And then they rent them out, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess just thinking of when you build a spot, who is it for? You know, is it
What's the
for
purpose?
adults, is it for kids, or is it for rentals, you know? And I think that, like I said, the community center is a great building, but at the time, there were things that we weren't doing that we're doing now. So that's what it needs to be built for, I guess. So I don't know, I kind of feel like it needs to be an all or nothing, but they probably should break that down and give you the specs and say, this is what the building looks like, this is what you're getting for that $14 million, so.
And to their credit, I do think that they did spell that out in some detail in the proposal. I just don't think we have that. That's not on this. That
Right.
was in that
Correct.
packet that they
Right.
gave us with all the pictures and Yeah.
Well, what do we use at the community center where you have, it's the Easter breakfast? I mean, can't you construct 4 or 5? I mean, what do we use that for, other than that? I mean,
The,
where the breakfast is, that big
oh,
area?
yeah, are you talking about the rooms as a whole?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have the daddy-daughter dances. Let me use this as an example. We have
Robbie?
Kids Can Cook, okay? So Kids Can Cook is in room C, and that room is, you know, designed as a rental space. I'm pretty sure some of you have been in there, but it's the big giant island. You know, those little kids, they can't reach up there. So, you know, we put tables out for them, but it's kind of just like we're always constructing things to fit for them. It's not for them though. Like the sink, you know, we have to bring out little step stools for them. Just, that's just more what I'm referring to.
Yeah.
We have, summer camps are conducted in there,
Correct.
karate,
Yes.
we've had Pilates, different exercise,
Yeah,
programs
painting
in there.
classes.
I mean, we even had, dodgeball camp, and, we've done
Right.
some sports in there, but it's not designed to be a sports facility with, the type of ceilings and surface flooring that you would want to have in, in a sports facility. And, even that building, we don't have enough storage.
Oh, no, our closets are
Right.
overflowing. They really are. Yeah.
And even the rec center, just say you want to have courts there, you're going to have any capability for spectators, are you envisioning, spectators
Bleachers.
coming in, you're going to need bleachers, you're going to need some area for, if there's going to be a concession, or, so, to what degree is that going to encompass? And, that adds to the square footage too, so it's not just building 3 or 4
Well,
courts.
I was thinking the concessions could be in your office, and then,
Box of chips, and here's.
I don't think, I want to discourage us from getting into like the nitty-gritty of trying to design all this stuff, because that's not our job anyway. Ed, are there any other takeaways, or any other things that you think we need to discuss?
Yeah, I don't
before
want
my
to,
head
I
explodes?
really don't want to make this
Yeah.
any longer than it has to be. The maintenance facility needs to be addressed. And you can throw square footage down on a piece of paper, but again, it goes back to rec center and it goes back to pavilion. What the hell's the purpose of it? If it's just to park a lawnmower in, I really don't think I want a lawnmower anywhere near my rec center. And for us to construct a pole barn, stick it out in the corner somewhere and park stuff out there. That's the way I view maintenance facility. Now, that might not be the way John or Mike or whoever maintains things would like it. But again, just like the rec center and Irene, you got to get some input in from Mike and the people that use it. I'll finish with one if you'd like, and I promise I'll stop talking. We take a look at all the things on this page, and for every dollar you take out of any one of the columns, you save 60 cents on the bottom part. So this is not insurmountable to get this cut. And I think we spent way too much, and I don't even want to bring it up now, but we spent way too much time talking about how much the contingency, how much the design and engineering is. Who the hell cares?
I totally agree.
You don't even have to design.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm with you.
bonds, permit, and inspections. Come on.
I'm with you. I'm 100% with you on that.
Finally, one of the magical parts, if you want to call it magical, about Rorman for me is the 3 or 4 trails that wind in and out of everything. And I think that should be, and it was one of the things we talked about a long, long time ago, is winding a trail through here. And we joked about the pavilion that was all out by itself.
Yeah.
That Kristen was going to take her enemies and, but that trail is winding quiet and away from noise and everything else. So that's something that somebody can do at any age and anywhere else. And I think that, depending on what size this is and what we're going to do with it, that trail system needs to be incorporated into
Ileana as it is at Rorman right now.
Well, I think that was the original intent, based on the original designs. That was one of the unifying factors, was the trails were gonna all connect. So I think, I don't know if you all feel the same way
Yeah,
about it, but I think everyone's on the
absolutely.
same page with that.
Yeah,
That's the easy one.
for sure.
Thanks for leaving that one to the end.
See,
Yay.
we haven't even got to point 2 yet.
I think that's why that one pavilion was like kind of off in the corner by itself. It was kind of modeled after the trails, you know, it was like a little place to stop and
Yeah.
reflect and
Yep.
look at the pond or whatever that was in that corner.
It was a $500,000 reflection stop.
Absolutely.
All right, can we at least put a picnic
Reflection
table
slash
there?
Kristen's revenge stop,
Would
right?
would it be helpful to get maybe some feedback from staff who actually work in
No,
these
not at all.
You would have
areas?
thought that.
Not at all.
You know, I
Of
mean,
course.
just
Year and a half ago.
even with maintenance, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
I don't know 100% what is there, what's needed, excuse me, for that. So,
I would be really
Maybe that would
impressed
be-
if you had all the staff email you your thoughts, and then you had artificial intelligence summarize their thoughts.
yes.
Find the commonalities and email us with
Okay,
the
with
summary.
that
would be
one-
very cool.
Yeah, okay.
Can you do that for me?
And
That'd be awesome.
yes.
Maybe
yeah.
send them the link for Chat GTP?
Okay, there we go.
Go ahead and build a house by yourself, not a
Right.
plan, not from a builder. Build a
Okay.
house by yourself and see how long that takes you. There's way too many questions to answer, there's way too many options, there's way too many things you can do. And
Oh, yeah.
it's horrible to try and figure that all out, and we lose what I call, what our parks job is to still maintain, I need to have a roof, I need to have gutters, I need to have a driveway, I need to have a garage, that kind of stuff. And we start talking about what color the kitchen knobs are.
Even there yet, so.
Right. Yeah, what color countertops are we getting?
Yes.
Oh, no.
You know, and we have an existing maintenance building that in every concept is proposed to be relocated.
Relocated?
Yeah,
Well, demolished and then,
and move.
Okay.
and not relocate, well,
All right,
New one.
yeah, a location or rebuilt in a, what is so integral in that maintenance footprint right now that is the key to the whole development of Ileana. You know, does it have to go?
right.
Can it be
No,
recited
I
and
don't think so. It's
redressed
too
and
far- it's so far away from
updated
everything
and
else,
melded into the overall plan and save $1 million building a new facility?
Yep, I like that idea too.
What is Mike lacking? What does he need to be successful that he doesn't have right now in that building? You know, those kind of questions.
Yeah, from the facility standpoint, you know, that would be something we'd have to ask, you know, and see. You know, it's not like, you know, the building we added a third bay to it.
Okay.
Yeah, not every vehicle's inside. So maybe the yard could use some better storage, better security fencing. You'd want to, you know, have it more segregated from general public. Maybe there's bins where you could store mulch, you know, things like that. But, you know, if you're going to spend $1 million on building a new building, or more than $1 million, that's actually smaller than the existing building, then maybe, you know, you take a quarter of that and you could go a lot further in improving what you have. And, you know, just a thought, again,
No,
you know, when you look,
that's right along the same lines of what's the purpose of the building? You know, just because it's an old building, that doesn't mean the bones are no good. You know, that's a outdoor building, it's sheeted. If you want to rip the sheeting off, resheet it and expand it if you want. Those buildings are made to do that. But again, what's the purpose of the building? You know, is it more than just what it used to, what was it 10 years ago? You know, that was your office. Or was it more than 10
Yeah.
years ago? Maybe I've been around here too long. But again, we've taken everything and repurposed it. There's no reason that can't get repurposed. And you're looking at $160,000 right there that's done and over with. I mean, again, getting into that minutia of dollars and cents is a waste of all of our time. But it's an idea that needs to be proposed and thrown about. I'd like to
Awesome.
formally apologize for dragging everybody through this for the last hour and a half.
Any other thoughts?
Well, if we, my thought is, generally speaking, we have a great parks staff and great parks already. Okay. So we got this Ileana thing that the town's been looking to do something with for what, 10 years now? And
Yeah.
it's still vacant. From what I hear us talking about, we may not have that rec center there. It may be where our facility currently is. We just add on to it. So now what do we have at Ileana? An amphitheater?
An amphitheater, a larger pavilion, lots of, a path,
Yeah.
a $65 million facility
Now,
without a rec center,
if,
basically.
I don't know if you remember, and this is smaller scale, but I think one of the previous board members talked about, do you know where Warman Park is between the baseball fields and the soccer fields? There's like a mini baseball field
Yes.
Yep, very familiar with it.
that we thought, I think we discussed about having like a small amphitheater there. And if that's the case, or somewhere else,
If
then
you-
we need nothing at Ileana.
If you've been to that field, or you know where the maintenance facility is, if
Right.
you use the maintenance building as your entrance to the sloped seating with a pavilion shell at the bottom of the hill,
Right.
you've got your concert venue.
Right.
And very, very quickly, and oh, by the way, if you want to take that or that stage and just go park the trailer down there,
Right.
pop it up, self-contained, and you have a concert right there.
Yeah.
And it's a fenced concert venue.
Right.
It's very doable on the cheap, but that could also be converted to a sled hill in the wintertime, if we'd ever got any snow.
Yeah.
So,
Great thoughts. Any other thoughts? Any reason to continue this meeting?
I think Ed's got one more thing on this.
I do not have
Oh,
one more
okay.
thing. No, I apologize. I needed to get that out of myself. I don't do well when we're bickering about nickels and dimes when we don't have a scope. And I got to worry about the park board as what we're doing, because this isn't our project, but it's certainly going to be a big chunk, or could be a big chunk of what we're going to be doing. And does it meet the needs of what the residents have said that they want?
Yeah, it's a great point. Yeah, great. I'm glad you called the meeting. I think,
And I wanted to get us out of that and talk about it. And I
I
apologize
think it was a
again.
worthwhile meeting. You don't need to keep apologizing for it. I think it's a worthwhile meeting. I hope we all know that when we have stuff like that, this is why we're a board. We come together and we talk it out and we come to a consensus. So, and I think we've done that. If no one has anything else, John, is there anything we need to cover before we wrap up?
No, I know, I had some notes from last time, and I don't know if there's any, I guess, some of the things that were discussed, quickly, just to run through these were, everyone seemed to like the high-intensity concept, but having it revised. Perimeter fencing was a low amount. I think they were agreed,
Yeah, that made no sense whatsoever. I don't know where
inclusive
they pulled that
playground,
from.
and, all our playgrounds are inclusive, Nikki. I mean, we have poured-in-place surface, we have elements. I think maybe what you meant there was maybe what Brad was saying, maybe more Central Park, maybe some larger type of
I think with the,
accessible items.
with the inclusive, I remember one of our park board, they were asking for the park to be enclosed. And I think
Like a
that-
separate space for like sensory.
Yeah, so that they don't have to
autism.
worry about kids, running. So I think that's probably one of the bigger things that's missing from our parks, not that, and I think that's what they were asking for.
You mean with a fence or having it separate for,
I believe that at one of our park boards.
Enclosed,
they
like
came
with
and
some type of
asked-
fence.
They were asking for what was missing from our inclusivity parks was that it wasn't enclosed for that safety.
Gotcha.
The extra safety that's needed, so.
And there, at some point in one of the presentations we've seen, they kind of gave us some ideas of
Yep.
different items we could have in that park.
Right, right.
It just, yes, we have items in all of our park, I understand.
Slowly getting more. but
Yeah,
yes.
slowly getting more, it's just kind of,
And does it have to be at that one? No, we could add it somewhere else, but.
right, and,
yeah.
and John did say that
Yeah.
to me. He had a valid point after one of the meetings. You said to me, Nikki, we don't have to put that at Ileana. We could
Right.
put that at the community center. It could go anywhere. It doesn't have to be at Ileana.
Right.
One item tonight was an ice rink. And they had two different concepts. One, they had the synthetic tiles, and
John
then one
built
that was
yeah.
larger under the
That's what he's doing
pavilion.
right now.
So, I mean, is ice rink kind of
It's still
a
in.
lower priority, or maybe?
He's still
Jen,
not
Jen
close.
says it's still in.
I think that was phase two.
I
Nikki
think,
concurs.
I think it's an amenity that we can fit into something that we're going to build.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I don't think we need that area over there to be an ice skating rink, and don't mess
A
with
dedicated ice skating
getting
rink.
athletes out of the year.
Yeah, and someone brought up the dollar amount, again, not getting hung up on the dollar amount, but in the breakdown, if that was realistic, if it was that, but if that's still fine, and then we talked about, rec centers not being a Taj Mahal, but something that was, basketball courts, walking track, maybe pickleball, something multi-purpose.
But-
Yeah, by the way, if we want the neighbors near the community center to be on board, we just need to put pickleball in there. And
Oh, yeah.
all the complaints will go down to zero, very, very rapidly.
And I think along the lines of,
You guys might have, it might be
basketball.
very loud in your offices, but the complaints will go down to zero.
They both wear
Along with a
headphones.
walking track and a basketball, then again, what's the scope of that? I've got Irene here going, I don't have classrooms. I don't have classrooms tailored to what we're already doing that we're having a hard time meeting the needs of. So maybe in addition to that, we need to say classroom facilities and 5, 6, 7, 3, 2, whatever it is, classroom facilities.
We can, yeah,
Yeah,
no disagreement there. Anyways, yes, sorry.
Again, the maintenance building being attached to the rec center, if that was something that was going to be at Ileana, that was discussed last time, so that still makes, sense. If the maintenance building existing is going to be taken down, then, does it make sense to add on to existing? Pavilion, we had talked about it having the size of like Bulldog or Valpo. It sounds like we're talking maybe a little bit smaller of a pavilion, but still something larger than what we have at Reeder and Rorman or whatever, something the higher ceilings, bigger. The amphitheater we talked about, not having the built-in seating. Space in the park shelters or having less of them, where if, again, that could be somewhere down the road if you want to add another shelter or that. I don't think that needs to be a early phase priority, And I think it goes back to what saying there was trying to fill this whole acreage with items and facilities. And we talked about cutting back the size of the overall scope of the park. So if we're not going to develop every square inch, maybe we don't need those other 2 or 3 shelters way off in the corner. Maybe we focus on, 20, 25 acres
Right.
to meet what we just, what we've been talking about. Then the other thing was overflow parking that wasn't paved, but maybe it was something they had the right drainage where you could use it for events and it, it's not going to be flooded out. Maybe it's designed to handle some parking, but it's not going to be your everyday parking. And bathroom facilities, I think that was brought up before at Rorman. Having the one there, obviously, what are you going to have outside? And again, that depends on the scope of this. And, if you had an amphitheater, there are other facilities on the back end of that amphitheater that are people using, or is there something near the pavilion that people are using? But that's getting into the,
details.
yeah, that,
But again, there we sit at Rorman with 2 sets of bathroom, one locked behind the gates at the fields, where they
Yeah.
should be, and then that little, I call it an outhouse. hanging out there on the north, east end of the complex it's a box. Can that be blown out and/or expanded to satisfy some other need that's already out there?
Yeah. So that was kind of brought up last time. I think that was what Andy and I, we talked a little bit about what was going to be sent to Structure Point. To kind of recap real quick here what we kind of talked about, or some of the notes I had. Obviously, it was talk about the mission of the parks really to provide, parks and rec services to the town. So looking at the town needs, having the pavilion adequate size, how's this park, is it going to be more community-oriented, more destination park? Still needs to kind of maybe have a direction, or maybe, or can it be both, I guess? Brad had mentioned, the playgrounds, we have enough, so maybe that's not initial focus of the development. But the rec center does seem to be, still some questions, need to know what's going to actually go in there, what those costs are going to be. And then exploring the current community center and putting the rec center on the back of that. And then really expanding the trails and connecting them into Rorman. And I don't think that was really hit on last meeting, but somehow you have an existing park. You want to tie that into the other park.
Absolutely.
It's not going to be two separate parks. So, that really needs to be melded in. And that's why I think even if those existing soccer fields were redone, it allows you to kind of redevelop that area, so that's kind of what I had. Is there anything you want to add that maybe we should send to Structure Point?
I hate to bring up like a whole new thing, but I feel like we're gonna give them this, and they're gonna have to like reconfigure a lot, which is fine. But maybe to bring up, because what I'm thinking is, okay, we have 72 acres of land. Are we, and I know this isn't our job, but to discuss with other people, are we going to be okay with developing, let's say, 10 acres, 20 acres? We still have a lot of acres left. And I know some of that will be green space, the trails, but do we want them to keep that in mind so that they build it closer to, like if you're saying add on to the existing bathroom, well, I'm always in my head thinking closer to the track, I guess, which is kind of far from those bathrooms. So I think when we give them this, we have to also let them know, are we going to leave it open so someday we could develop more park stuff, or are we going to leave it and then maybe bring in like a restaurant row or something? I know we're talking about retail in the front. Seems like we have a lot of space. Do we want more restaurants to go in there so that they know how to lay out the land?
Lay it out, yeah.
So I know, like, it's kind of exhausting to think of it, but I feel like we kind of went backwards a little bit. And so maybe if you ask the right people, like, what's their vision before we give it to Structure Point again, and then get it, and then say, well, wait, now let's do it again.
Yeah, if you scale back, I mean, obviously you need entrance coming in from 30. So, how this ties in with existing Rorman and then having an entrance on 30, what 25 acres, let's say, would be used?
Right.
And what's the shape of that going to be, So is there going to be more to the east where that's going to be open space, and more to the west and where the wetlands are, and maybe
then,
more the core of it, is the center of it?
And
So
do we want to set aside space that we could potentially have people lease the land, buy the land with, specific things, not just like a smoke shop or, but but I don't know. Or are we going to keep it just green space and parks?
That'd have to be rezoned if it was going to be more commercial.
Okay.
I don't think there was any discussion of expanding the commercial end of it, leaving the what's commercial, commercial. So it'd have to probably just be, open space. That would be another point, like Ed was saying, if you put a trail through there or something and expand the trail network, it might be a low-cost way to tie in that open space without really developing it, to the fullest extent.
But there would have to be a master plan of some sort. That's,
Right.
eventually, this is what we want here eventually.
Right. Yeah.
Any other thoughts?
John, thank you for taking notes.
Thanks, John.
Be able to read them. I won't be able to read them tomorrow, so it's on tape.
I think Andy probably did a great job. I mean, I know he was writing feverishly, and I know what you're gonna give him is gonna be fine. But again, thank everybody for showing up tonight.
Absolutely.
Thanks for inviting us.
Yep.
Yes, thank you.
Yep.
All right.
All right, and with that, we'll bring this study session to a close.